Hey guys, what's up? Before we get started, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Make sure you like this video, share with your friends, share with your family. So today we're gonna talk a little bit about how to prevent injuries when training as a white belt, when you first start jiu-jitsu, right? So it's probably one of the most common times that we run into situations where we get hurt or different things like that. So I'm just going to give you some tips and pointers on ways that I try to keep myself healthy as a black belt and things that I can see that can help. I wish I knew when I was a white belt, right? So some of these things are going to be like tips. Some of these things are just ways that you can, and by the way, some of these things are going to cost you a little bit of money. So if it's something that's not in your budget, then don't worry about that. I know like we can't all afford to be able to maintain everything as perfect as possible. But I'll give you just some of my tips and pointers. If you have the finances, great, then use them. If not, then you can also do some of the things that I'm saying in other ways as well. And I'll kind of break that down for you. So the first thing I'm going to talk about, and I'm going to kind of be going all over the place. There's no like real like order of what I'm going to be talking about as far as how to prevent injuries. Just going to kind of go down the line and just let you know my opinion. So the first thing, try to train at least 2 days a week, right? So I know it's hard in your everyday schedule, being able to do something twice a week, but it's very important to train twice a week to help your body start to acclimate to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's something that is new to your body. It's something your body's never done before. It's usually a very awkward position for your body, and your body doesn't want to. It's almost like, I don't know about you guys, but for me, it's almost like my body didn't want to move some of the ways that Jiu-Jitsu was asking it to move. And so I had to acclimate it to it. I had to like almost coax my body into understanding that, hey, I'm moving you this way and it's supposed to be that way. I'm not doing something accidentally. So with that said, the best way to acclimate your body to being able to practice Jiu-Jitsu is by training as often as possible, but minimum of 2 days a week. If you train anything less than 2 days a week, and even 2 days isn't gonna make sure that your body doesn't feel sore or those type of things, but it's gonna, as a white belt, help you maintain some consistency, start to feel your body be able to move different ways and different things like that, or your body will start to have an easier time adapting. The other thing is, if your schedule permits it, try if you can to try to work out 2 days a week. I know that sounds like, for a lot of jiu-jitsu guys, they may talk about like not worrying about weights and different. I used to think that way when I was younger in jiu-jitsu, and I used to think like, you know what, I'm not gonna work out at the gym too often. I'm not gonna go run too often because I want to train as much as possible. And sometimes when you train, you can sometimes feel a little exhausted. So when you go work out or lift weights, you don't have the same energy that you would if you did one or the other. So if I thought to myself, I have to choose, I'm going to choose to just train jiu-jitsu. But let me explain now, as I've been in jiu-jitsu a little bit longer, how I think it helps me. I consistently, like, there's always times, my body always reminds me that when I don't lift weights, that I haven't lifted weights for that week. So let me explain that a little bit. So when I go and train, if I just do jiu-jitsu, say for example, I go a week or two and I don't go to the gym, then a lot of times what starts to happen is my body will start to get like sore in certain areas, like whether it's my back, my elbows, my shoulders, whatever that may be. And when I lift weights, if I focus on those areas, so for example, if I focus on like biceps, which I have to like bend my elbow and be able to lift a weight or something like that, those movements are when I go to train jiu-jitsu, I feel like my body's tighter. And let me be clear, I don't mean heavyweights. I never lift heavy. I don't even remember how many years it's been since I've tried to max. Definitely before I started training jiu-jitsu. I don't max out my weight. I don't try to lift as heavy as I can go. That's not what I do weightlifting for. I do it just to help keep my body tight, so when I go and train, nothing's loose. And so when I go, just like one example I think of, no one ever made this analogy for me, but it was an analogy that I came up with myself, was think about when you go to physical therapy. When you go to physical therapy, usually you go to physical therapy because you have an injury. Imagine if you went to physical therapy and when you went to physical therapy, they worked out, like let's say you hurt your knee. They work out everything other than the area around your knee. It would make no sense, right? Because the thing that you need to get strengthened, the thing that you need to get stronger is the muscles or around the knee to try to start helping that knee recover from whatever injury you may have. So think of it with jiu-jitsu as the same thing. Like we're attacking arms, we're attacking necks, different things like that. So think of it as physical therapy for your body. You're going into the gym strengthening muscles around the ligaments and the things that you're going to have manipulated in jiu-jitsu So you want to make sure that when you have those things manipulated, that your muscles around those things are strong so something doesn't give. And so for me, I hope that analogy made sense, but it's the easiest way I can describe why you want to work out. It's the same thing as physical therapy. When you go into physical therapy, they work out specifically the muscles around an area that's injured. And in jiu-jitsu, it's not that your muscles are injured, but we're literally putting pressure on these areas every day that we train. So when you go and lift weights and strengthen the muscles around the areas that we're putting pressure on, then you know that you're going to make sure that the thing you're putting pressure on you can protect because the muscles around it are strong. So I think at least 2 days a week is something that's really effective in jiu-jitsu. And if you can do more, great. And it's going to take a transition in the beginning. Like, you'll probably be a little exhausted doing both, but take time, keep doing it. And in time, you'll see what I mean. Like, now when I miss a weight training, or if I miss going to the gym, lifting weights before I go train, or if I take an extended amount of time off of lifting weights, but just train jiu-jitsu, I'll feel like some things that are a little bit at risk. And it's almost like, or I'll feel like a sore shoulder. And I'll think to myself, man, I wonder if this is because I haven't lifted weights this week, because I know that protects my muscles, my body, and different things like that. So the other thing is, try to eat as healthy as possible. You know, when you come and train in jiu-jitsu, we're using our body every day that we train, right? So think of it as like fuel, right? When you eat, you have to make sure you give your body the best fuel possible, and try to eat as light as possible. And I say as possible because, you know, all of us have different weights. Me eating light may be a ton of food for someone that's 150 pounds. I'm 215 pounds, right? Compared to someone eating light who, you know, is 250 might be too much food for someone that's my weight. So everyone knows their body pretty well. So try to eat as light as you can, right? Because as light as possible, because you want to make sure that when you come and train, your body performs at its optimal level. If you're heavy or you're full or don't eat healthy, then your body usually is going to respond to that and going to not make you run at the optimum level. And then that's when injuries can happen, right? That's when your body doesn't feel as strong or as optimal as it can feel based off of the fuel you gave it. Then that could be unfortunately a way that you can injure yourself, because you're not operating at your body's full potential. The other thing is rest. Rest is super important for the body. So for me, I rest minimum 6 hours a day. I try to get 8 to 9 hours a day. So a lot of times when I here in Palm Desert, California, I teach in the morning a lot of classes, whether it's a group class or a private lesson, and then I'll teach and train, and then I teach and train again in the evening. So I try to make sure I get plenty of rest. Rest is so important to making sure that you take care of your body. If you aren't rested, chances of an injury happen are probably pretty high. So try to make sure, if you can, go to bed. I mean, I don't even want to say early. Just make sure that if you go to bed, if you have something planned really early the following day, then go to bed earlier to make sure you get at least those 6 hours. I would say, you know, you're using your body as a tool. You're putting it through like rigorous kind of movements and different things that jiu-jitsu does to it. You want to make sure you give it the proper amount of recovery time. The other thing, if you know that you have an injury, try speaking with your partner. Try speaking with the person that you're paired up with and explain to them. Like I always say in my class that, hey, if I know somebody has an injury, I pay a lot of attention to that. I'll go up and I'll ask that person, hey, you know, how is your shoulder feeling? How's your knee feeling? And, you know, and I want to know. And when I pair that person up, I try to make sure, if I know they have an injury, that I pair them up with someone that I know is going to take care of them. Or even if in some instances where you don't have maybe enough amount of choices of someone you can pair up with that you know will take care of that person, then I'll just go up to the partner that I paired them up with and say, hey, you know, Elias's shoulder's a little sore, so just try to go easy on him. Even if you didn't tell your own partner that, I'll go up and mention it. But really the responsibility is yours. You know, ego and pride are such a powerful thing in jiu-jitsu. And I mean that in a good way, right? They can be your best friends because it helps you push through a lot of things, but it also can be your worst enemy because it makes you push through the times when maybe your body isn't 100%. And in that case, you're like, if you don't want to talk to a partner because you're like, I don't want to say anything because I don't want to show a weakness, or I don't want to make my partner train differently. By the way, we're all going to be injured at one point or another. If you think you're going to go through jiu-jitsu as all the way to the black belt and never be injured, then man, you have another thing coming, because it's just not possible. You're gonna, I mean, I don't mean major injuries, but you're gonna have little injuries throughout your time training jiu-jitsu. And so your partner should understand that you want to roll a little bit gingerly on a specific area or whatever the case may be. And if they don't, then they're probably not a good partner. And in my academy, if somebody doesn't, I always explain to people, you know, you have to make an exception for your partners who are injured and train with them appropriately if they're injured, because there's gonna come a day when you're gonna be injured, and you're gonna need your partner to have that same understanding when they're rolling with you. So if that partner isn't understanding, then at my academy, they probably don't belong at my academy. They probably, you know, need to be somewhere else, because they don't have that kind of sympathy and understanding that you would need. You have to have communication if you are injured to protect yourself, especially in the beginning when you're a white belt. I know it's easier said than done, but again, this is a video trying to help you prevent injuries so you can continue from the white to the blue belt. So the other thing is, go to a chiropractor. I know, like, some people think like, man, a chiropractor is expensive, and that's true. Their chiropractors, if you're going, are a little pricey. You know, it can be anywhere from, I mean, I've seen anywhere from as low as $50 to as high as $120. But nowadays, I say nowadays because when I first started, chiropractors were never included with insurance. But now, if you have insurance, you might not even know this, but chiropractors are included in most insurances now, most health insurance coverages. So you might have access to having free, or maybe paying like a $10 or $15 copay to a chiropractor, and you might not even know it. So you should definitely look into, like, a chiropractor is just pivotal. If you have somebody who can adjust you, and I would say if you wanted to know how often, once a month would be great. If you can do it more, even better, but at least once a month. Just it's just basically maintaining your body, right? Just putting everything back into place that you may have put out of place while training. And so it's a maintenance thing, man. It's just like your car, right? Have a car, you take it to get oil checks, you take it to get maintenance on it every 6 months, or, you know, in some cases every, you know, 3 or 4 months. Same thing with your body. You have to maintain it. You have to at least once a month go get it adjusted. It doesn't have to be a chiropractor. It can be like, some people like the cupping, some people like, I know the needles. I'm trying to think of what the name of that is. I can't off the top of my head. And I've done all of those. All of that's great. Me personally, I've always felt like I felt best after using a chiropractor. I just always felt like, even if it was just for 5 minutes when I walked out, like, things just felt straight. And if there was something that felt sore, it felt correct. So, but, you know, to each their own. Whatever you do, just think of it, I mean, even if it's cupping or the needles, then at least you're maintaining your body. You're doing something to help keep your body strong for when you train jiu-jitsu. And this should, as early as you can start. Like, when I was younger in my, like, white belt and even beginning blue belt, I didn't do a lot of these things. And so I luckily didn't have any major injuries, but I had a bunch of knick-knack injuries. So I just think, like, I wonder now, as a someone who's trained jiu-jitsu for 17 years, wonder if I could have prevented some of those knick-knack injuries if I would have known these tips when I started jiu-jitsu. So you know them now. I'm telling them to you. So if you have access to that kind of stuff, and again, you might even have it and don't even know it. So check it out. It might be something that you can use. The other thing is, try to have a massage. Same thing with chiropractor. Try to have a massage if you can once a month. The massage, I haven't seen yet. I mean, maybe some insurances cover them, but a lot of times insurances don't cover massages. So I know those, again, like being adjusted with the chiropractor, can be a little pricey, but there's alternatives to massages. Like, we've used, me and my wife, an air relax, which is, you know, for the legs, and we actually have the one for the waist as well as the ones for the arms and shoulders. And we use that air relax. We've owned that thing since 2017 or 2016 actually. So it's been 7 years, and we still use it today. So when my legs are a little tired from either running or training jiu-jitsu, you know, I come home and that air relax is a 20-minute massage on your legs, gets the blood flowing, gets the blood pumping, keeps the blood flowing through your legs. And when I'm done with that, it never fails. I always feel a little lighter, feel a little better. So if you don't have access or the finances, it's a little bit of an investment, the air relax I'm talking about. You can also use the Theragun, right? There's a bunch of different names for it, but you can buy that on Amazon. Now, I've seen them as low as like 40 or 50 bucks. And the Theragun is that, you know, the gun that massages different parts of your body. So if you don't have access or the finances to do massages, and you can just, you know, invest in a Theragun or something that massages your body as far as like electrically, and that works just as well. Again, it's just about maintaining your body. The other thing is, try not to overtrain, right? So in the beginning, I talked about doing at least 2 days a week, and if you can, you know, you want to do more, but listen to your body. When your body starts to feel a little bit sore or whatever the case is, make sure you don't overtrain. You don't want to, like, if your neck sore or your back sore or, you know, your elbow sore, take a day off. You know, if you're training 5 or 6 days a week, especially in the beginning, when you're in the beginning as a white belt, that's probably one of the main times. If you're older, and if you're younger, I mean, it still probably applies, but probably to a lesser extent. What I mean applies is that you have the potential to overtrain and hurt yourself if you're older. When you're younger, maybe not as much of the potential to hurt yourself, but you still at risk of hurting yourself, or if nothing else, burning yourself out. A lot of times in jiu-jitsu, we hit a lot of plateaus plateaus are just like where our technique starts to feel like we've hit a technical peak and we can't get over that peak. So try to not overtrain. Be smart about training. You know, we talk about situational awareness. I've talked about that in other videos, and I always talk about that. And, you know, the other thing is body awareness, right? So just kind of ending the video and talking about, you know, going over all the things that we talked about, but try to be aware of your body. Nobody knows your body as well as you, you know? So if you feel like your body needs a break or whatever the case is, I know you love jiu-jitsu. I know it's new and I know it's fun. I know trust me, it's still to this day, I love training jiu-jitsu, but I listen to my body. Your body sometimes needs a break. And I can't tell you how many times I've took time off unintentionally sometimes because I'm taking a trip or I got a little knick-knack injury or whatever the case may be, that I come back after being gone, like maybe, you know, 4 or 5 or sometimes a week, and I feel better. Even though I wouldn't have known that, I think to myself like, oh man, I'm moving a little better today. I feel like my body may have needed that extra time that I took off. And whenever I feel that, I always think to myself or remind myself, I need to like take more time to try to rest my body if it feels this way. So remember, like, listen to your body. You got to have body awareness. You got to know when it's time to take a break and protect yourself. Like, our body is what we're going to use for jiu-jitsu. It's like our temple. So we want to make sure that we like respect our temple and we don't overuse our bodies, so that way we can use them for hopefully years to come and continue to enjoy this thing that we all love in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So those are my tips on when you're starting jiu-jitsu as a white belt, trying to maintain and have a healthy body and lifestyle to try to prevent injuries and allow you to be able to hopefully have a long career in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. That's all for today. Hope you enjoyed the video. Again, if you enjoyed it, make sure you subscribe to my channel. Make sure you like the video, share it, let everyone know about it. And until next time, I'll talk to you guys later.